Welcome back to the Founder to CEO podcast. If you're new here, this channel is built for one kind of person, someone who is serious about building a business beyond them. Not just a business that pays the bills, but one that has meaning, structure, and a future. Today's episode is part of a mini-series. It's called Discipled by the Internet, and it consists of 3 episodes. 3 very different business conversations, but one thread running through all of them. The idea that in the age of constant noise, constant input, constant hustle, we've almost completely lost the ability to think clearly. And that loss is costing us our businesses, our health, and our peace. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Let's go. In the first episode of the series, we talked about Martha and Maria. We talked about how overwhelm sneaks up on the most capable, most committed, most well-intentioned founders. We talked about the brain dump, getting the noise out of your head and onto paper. Then we talked about the stillness, inquiry, and choosing the one thing, the focus thing. In the second episode, we talked about renewing the mind. Because once you've done the brain dump, once you've had the stillness, once you've heard what matters and you still have to change the way you think. Not just your to-do list, not just your schedule, the actual underlying operating system. Because here's what I've seen with founders, and I've seen it over and over. You can do the brain dump, then you clear the list, set the priorities, delegate, delete, all of that. Then 3 weeks later, you're right back where you started. Same overwhelm, same avoidance, same overcommitment. And why? Because the external declutter didn't reach the internal wiring. You can't build a new business with the same mind that built the old problems. Now today, let's see what happens between you recognizing what you need to do and when you actually see the breakthrough. We're in the valley now, right? So let's name the valley. Let me describe something I've been through. Maybe you can relate. You've done the work, you've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've done the courses, and then you've made the changes. You started protecting your mornings. You've done the brain dump. You've started saying no to things that aren't yours to carry. You've delegated. You've been praying, been journaling, or both. It's been 3 weeks or 3 months or even longer. And externally, you can't see that anything has changed. The business is still the same size, still have the same clients, same revenue. You might even have lost some revenue. Some of the same problems or more. The market hasn't noticed that you changed. The algorithm doesn't care that you're sleeping better. The revenue dashboard doesn't reflect your new mindset. And there's a voice, quiet at first and then louder, that says, maybe this just doesn't work. Maybe I'm not the kind of person this works for. Maybe I left it too late. Maybe I got the wrong advice. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm too young. This is the voice of discouragement. And discouragement is not the end, but it's the fork in the road. Because how you respond to discouragement, what you do when the gap between where you are and where you're trying to get to feels vast, and you can't see the progress, and you experience setback after setback, that determines almost everything about what happens next. And I want to offer you something for when you're in the valley today. Not a tactic, not a system, a word directly addressed to you in the gap, in the valley. In Isaiah 41:10, this is God speaking directly to his people. They're on exile. They're in the gap between the promise of rescue and the fulfillment of it. Between the word they received and the life they're currently living, he says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's a lot of things, right? But there's 4 things in these 2 verses. I want to unpack each one separately. Let's get practical. The first part of this verse is do not fear. But we get overwhelmed and we do get scared. And fear is the cognitive state that the algorithm is most effective at triggering. Scroll any news feed for 5 minutes and you will be in a mild state of fear within seconds. And maybe even the WhatsApp groups that shares bad news and what they think is going to happen very quickly. But also when you watch the news or you watch your social scroll, you will hear about how bad the economy is, the country is. You'll see the competition. You'll hear about AI replacing your industry, your job. You notice the market shifting. Fear-based decision-making is one of the most expensive things that happens in a founder's brain. You make reactive decisions. You invest in things to solve fears rather than to build vision. You hire the wrong people for the wrong reasons. You price from fear rather than value. So do not fear is not a feeling God is telling you to manufacture. It's a direction. It's actually a command. Stop feeding the fear. Starve it of its content. Return to what is actually true. Subscribe to things that will build you up, not break you down. We don't need that. Now, the second part of the verse I want to just have a look at is why can we be so confident that we don't have to fear, even in the valley of death? It's for I am with you. God is with you. In the internet world, we have substituted 1,000 other things for his presence. The community, people that you surround yourself with. What is said in the comments section if you have a podcast or the Facebook feed. The validation of the likes that you get on each post that you do or not. The reassurance of the algorithm when something performs well. This is all the internet discipling. The coach's accountability call. The community's WhatsApp groups, whether it's business or fear-mongering. None of these things are bad things. But they're not from God. They cannot hold you the way God's presence holds you. The presence of God in the gap is not a feeling, though sometimes it is a feeling, but it's a fact. I am with you is a promise. It's a statement of location, not a statement of emotion. He's there whether you feel him or not. Whether the morning routine produced a sense of connection or felt dry and mechanical. This matters enormously for founders and for business owners because you're often alone in the strategic weight you carry. No one else fully understands the pressure of the thing you're building. They don't sometimes even understand the vision. And the loneliness of leadership is real, but it's not absolute. God says, I will strengthen and help you. Strength in this context, in the context of this conversation, is not motivation. It's not the energy of a good morning or the confidence of a strong week. It is the deep, quieter capacity to keep going when the metrics aren't moving and the gaps feels wide. It's what you need for the work that happens after the inspiration has faded, when the newness is gone. It's for the Tuesday morning when you open your laptop and there's no excitement, just the work, the boring work. For the month when the revenue is flat and you're questioning whether you're on the right path. Strength for the ordinary is the rarest and most necessary resource a business owner has. And it's available. It's not manufactured, it's received. There's a difference. And then I will uphold you. The Hebrew word used here is a word for support from underneath. It's not a push from behind that you must get going and keep going and going faster. It's not a hand extended from the front to pull you up. but it's support from below. I'm thinking of when you teach your children to swim. In the beginning, when you help them, you just support them from below so they don't sink beneath the water. And that is the kind of holding that we're talking about here. It's a kind of holding, the kind of holding you up when your legs are giving out, when you're really so tired that you can't give another step. This is the promise for the season when the gap is the widest, when it feels like you're in a deep, dark valley, when you've done everything you know to do, and the results are still not there, when the discouragement is not mild anymore, when it has become genuine despair. You are being held, even in that, especially in that. And it's such a dangerous place to be. Let's look at how discouragement becomes burnout. I want to map out the sequence because I think seeing it clearly makes it possible to interrupt. It starts with overcommitment. Too many open loops, too many yeses, too much noise. That was episode 1, remember? The Martha problem. Left unaddressed, overcommitment becomes overwhelm. And overwhelm, the constant cognitive load of things undone, begin to erode your capacity to think clearly because you're in overwhelm. The response to overwhelm is usually one of two things. Either you double down, work harder, push more, or you numb out. You just stop. The overindulgence I described in episode 1. So neither solves the problem. Underneath the overwhelm, the old patterns are still running, the same programming, the productivity identity, the scarcity default, the control compulsion. That was episode 2, remember? The Romans 12 problem. And yes, we most self-aware business owners who have done some of this work get stuck. They start the renewal. They change their habits. They do the brain dump. They protect the mornings. They build better systems. And then they hit the gap, the waiting period, the valley. The external world hasn't changed yet. The numbers are the same. The clients are the same. The market doesn't know that you've changed. And discouragement, the quiet but powerful conviction that it isn't working, starts to set in. This is the most dangerous stage of the sequence, not because discouragement is fatal, but because it is the exact moment when most people quit. They've done the hard internal work, the hardest work, and they quit right before the evidence appears. This is not the signal to stop. This is the most important part of the process. So let's see what to do in the gap. Measure differently. When the external metrics aren't moving, you need to track something else because progress is happening. You just can't see it yet in the numbers. Track things like, am I sleeping better than 6 months ago? Am I making decisions from clarity or from panic? Am I less reactive in difficult conversations than I used to be? It's a big indicator. Have I built any systems that didn't exist before? Have I delegated anything that was draining me? These are not soft metrics. An example of how to measure differently. Most people, when they start a podcast, measure views, likes, listening hours, all of those things. But with starting a podcast, what I've decided to measure is uploads. Did I upload this week? There will be time enough for the other things later, but for starting, when getting out of the starting blocks is, did I upload this week? How many uploads? For now, I'm at upload number 5, 6, 7, under 10. So I will keep on measuring this until I have uploaded 100. That's what I've committed to. These are the preconditions for the external results you want. And measuring them keeps you honest about the fact that something is actually changing, even when the dashboard hasn't moved. Shorten the gap with visible progress. One of the most effective antidotes to discouragement is completion. Finishing something, anything. in the direction where you're heading, of course. So this is why the 90-day sprint works better than annual goal setting. 90 days is short enough that you can see the end. You can see yourself arriving. And the brain, which needs completion, gets regular doses of it. The dopamine hit that matters. If you're in the long and difficult gap, break it into shorter, visible segments. What can you complete in the next 90 days? Not what do you want to achieve in 5 years, but what can you actually do in 90 days? And for each day, what is the one thing that if you do it, moves you closer? Not 5 things, one thing. Do the one thing every day. In the gap, that one thing every. And then number 3 is curate what you're consuming. In the gap, what you consume becomes more powerful, not less, because you're more impressionable, you're vulnerable. Because the gap is uncomfortable, and discomfort drives us toward the numbing inputs. This is the moment where the algorithm is most effective at pulling you into anxiety loops, financial anxiety content, competitive comparison, success stories that make you feel behind. This is the moment to be most deliberate about your inputs. Read things that build faith and vision, not things that stoke anxiety. Listen to conversations that model the thinking you're trying to develop, not the thinking you're trying to leave behind. Be careful of the marketing content you consume, the hustle narrative, 10x your revenue in 90 days promise. In the gap, that content doesn't expire. It discourages us. And here's the practical application. If you're going to invest time and energy in learning marketing, do it properly. From a foundation of strategy and clarity, not from panicked scrolling and comparison and all the free information you get on the web, on the internet. The DigitalWiz Academy course is structured exactly that way. You learn the foundations first, who your audience is, what your message is, how a sales journey actually works before you touch tactics. That sequence matters enormously when you're building in the gap. If you're interested, academy.digitalwiz.co.za. A link's in the description. The 4th point I want to make is you have to stay in community. The gap is not the time to go it alone. It's the exact time to be most connected to people who are further along and people who are walking the same road beside you. Isolation amplifies discouragement. It's just true. Community doesn't eliminate it, but it contextualizes it. When you hear someone else say, I was in that exact place 2 years ago, and here's what happened next, the gap feels less like a wall and more like a corridor. If you're in the gap right now, join Compassion.biz and join every meeting. This is a genuine invitation. We grow together. Because I know what the gap feels like. I know what it feels like to come out the other side of it. And I built a community because nobody should have to do this alone. It's just too sad. Okay, so this was 3 scriptures, 1 thread. Martha was overwhelmed by too much, missing the one thing. Paul called us to the transformation of the mind, not just a changed schedule, but a changed operating system, if you want. And Isaiah speaking into the gap, the wilderness between the change and the evidence of it. And the 3 words that I believe are the most personally direct thing God says to anyone in the whole Bible. Also for us today, do not fear. And here's what I want you to take away from this series, from this 3-episode series. The world is discipling you. The internet is forming you, whether you choose it or not. Every hour of content you consume is shaping the way you think, the patterns you run, the decisions you make. You're not neutral. None of us are. The question is not whether you will be discipled. The question is, by what? And the invitation, the one I keep coming back to, the one I find myself giving again and again to the business owners I coach, is to choose your formation deliberately, to fight for the silence, to protect your mornings, do the brain dump, sit at the feet of God, where it's more quiet, more true, and more steady than the algorithm. Because the business you build will be a reflection of the person you are when you build it. The person you are is being shaped right now by every input you allow in, and every input you protect yourself from. Choose the formation, protect the silence, build from what lasts. That's all I've got. And that's a wrap on today's episode. If this series is landing for you, if it's naming something you've been feeling but couldn't quite articulate, the best thing you can do right now is to subscribe. It takes 1 second, and it means the next episode will find you automatically. No algorithm hunting, no missed installments, just tap subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to do this work in a community of founders who are taking it seriously, come find us at Compassion.biz. That's where the co-working sessions happen, where the brain dumps happen in real time, where the 90-day sprint runs. There's a link in the description. One more thing before I let you go, and this one is really worth your attention. DigiWiz Academy is opening a priority list for the Digital Marketing Foundations course. And being on that list comes with 2 very specific benefits. The first, you'll receive the link to Module 1 completely free, straight to your inbox when you sign up. No payment, no commitment. It's just the first module that you can see exactly what you'd be investing in. The second is during the month, everyone on the priority list receives an exclusive discount code. This discount will not be available to anyone who isn't on the list. If you've been wanting to get your marketing foundations in place, this is the lowest risk, highest value way to start. Links in the description. But if you don't want to write it down, here it is, academy.digiwiz.co.za/course waitlist. See you there. And until the next episode, slow down. Think clearly. Build something real. See you in the next one.